Well, hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on this classic wooden motor cruiser here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with the loving memory of my pup Jody, all the while fixing it up for some pretty ambitious cruising. If that's the sort of thing that you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. I'd love to have you. This week is a little bit different. It's actually a bonus information episode that was meant to be aired the middle of next week. However, I've been feeling a little bit out of the weather this last week, so I've swapped the two episodes and we'll do the information episode right now, and the sanding and varnishing and all that kind of fun stuff will come to you next Wednesday. That is, if I can pull myself together. Anyway, to be fair, this is going to be a fair amount of talking heads with some juicy information coming, so if you can bear with it, do. If not, I'm sure there's lots of other sanding and varnishing and cutting to be seen out there on the World Wide Web. I thought I'd begin with an overview of what the next, well, year and a half or so looks like, because amazingly enough, I've kind of figured out what it's going to be. So let's get started. The next few months, the remainder of the winter of 2023, I will be living here in the inner harbor of Victoria, British Columbia, and spending my weeks, midweek anyway, in Genoa Bay, continuing to work on Poem, hoping to get Poem, determined to get Poem to the point where it is navigable, comfortable to stay aboard, but to be fair, it won't be really yet a self-sufficient cruiser, but I got a plan for that. So then, around about the middle of May, there'll be a bit of boat wrangling going on, and the end result of that will be that MV Zephyrus will be in her boat shed in Genoa Bay, MV Poem will be at anchor in Falls Creek, Vancouver, and MV Geordie will be at haul out in Sydney, British Columbia for a indeterminate period of time. And what I mean by that is that it would be great if I could get a whole bunch of stuff done to Geordie this spring, but it's exceedingly expensive to do long haul outs, and I think it may be possible that she just gets what we call in the haul out business a shave and a haircut. In other words, clean the bottom, inspect, check for any open seams and new zincs. Ideally, I would also change the forward garboard planks, do some more refastening, do some more framing, but not quite sure that's going to happen. But in any event, by early June, Jody will have joined Poem in Vancouver. They'll be wrapped up together at anchor in that beautiful, beautiful spot. So those first few weeks in June, I'll be continuing to finish the last little things that might need to be done on Poem, as well as getting started on the upper helm. And what I mean by that actually is the upper steering station for MV Geordie, because we're going to get some cruising done on Geordie, and it'd be so lovely to be able to do that upstairs. Around mid-June, I'll begin to take Geordie north towards Desolation, leaving Poem in Falls Creek in my friend Owen's very good hands. Cruising northward, I very much hope to be able to steam up into Princess Louisa Inlet, a long time bucket list item for me. So carrying on north, I will meet up with Lady Zephyrus in Lund, and for the next 2 weeks cruise further north than we've ever cruised before, up towards the Bretons, possibly into the Breton Islands, which is, well, for me that's pretty wildernessy. Now I share all this with you for at least a couple of reasons. One is to let you know, if you happen to be in the area, please do try to meet up. It'd be very, very fun to meet any other cruisers during my cruise, so you'll have a rough idea of where I am and when I'll be there. And the other, of course, for the rest of you, is just to give you a sneak preview of the fantastic cruising videos to come. So after this cruise, I intend to be back in Vancouver by about the 12th of July, and the next 4 weeks will be an intensive series of stays aboard Poem. Yes, 8 stays aboard Poem, 4 weekend and 4 midweek will be done over the next little while, and I'll be there for the whole time and host all those stays. More on that coming up in a few minutes. Following those stays aboard Poem, I will then cruise across the strait in MV Poem back to Genoa Bay and swap boats for MV Zephyrus, and then I'll be taking Lady Zephyrus for a 2-week or so cruise through the Southern Gulf Islands. Again, you'll know where we are, and if you're in the neighborhood, please do connect up. Following that, I'm very excited to say I'm going to be taking the newly freshened up MV Poem to the Victoria Classic Wooden Boat Festival right here in Victoria around Labor Day of 2023. And I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't been to the Victoria Classic Boat Show for quite a while. And I think it'd be really fun to bring Poem because she'll be at her best. She really will, and I think it'd be fun to sort of give her an opportunity to be seen by as many people as possible. And following that, as is the tradition for cruising classic boats on this coast, the very next weekend is the Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival, which I very much hope to attend again with Poem. Of course, that is pending being accepted in. If you're not accepted into the festival, you don't have moorage in the little inner harbor there, and the only moorage is out in a rather protected strait. Doesn't mean I won't go, but it does make it a little bit more complicated. So, crossing my fingers, newly freshened up Poem will be accepted the Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival, and of course I'll be there in any event, even if I have to drive, so hoping to meet a bunch of you there. After the festival, I'll take a couple of weeks to slowly work my way back up to Victoria, probably through the San Juan Islands, Friday Harbor, etc. And I'm really looking forward to that too, because it looks like there's some lovely cruising in there. Well, then I'll have returned to Victoria for the 1st of October, and at that point it's another boat shuffle. The end result of which will be Zephyrus back here in Victoria, Poem, yes, Poem back here in Victoria, and MV Geordie in the boat shed for the next winter. Now, yes, I'm going to live aboard Poem here in Victoria next winter while I carry on some pretty substantial repairs that I really couldn't do without a boat shed to MV Geordie. I'll tell you about them. So yes, from the 14th of July to the 10th of August, there will be 8 two-night stays available aboard MV Poem, and there will be absolutely no cost at all whatsoever for these. It's just not possible for me to be charging for this sort of thing. I have to keep everything completely above board. So, as was the intention of Poem from the very beginning, was for it to be part of the community. This is my first effort at that. So, if you'd be at all interested in staying aboard Poem for a two-night stay somewhere in that period, I will shortly be releasing a form where people can enroll or apply. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work exactly, but if you have any interest, send an email to stayaboardpoem@travelswithgeordie.com. All one word, stayaboardpoem at travelswithgeordie.com. That email is also down in the description. Please do not send requests to stay aboard to any other email or social media link. I will just ignore them. And I apologize for that because I get so many messages. Anyway, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I will be there through the whole thing, concierging and cleaning and restocking and stuff like that. And we'll make sure that this turns into a really good adventure. Now, I will pick at random from the final selection of interested parties, and I will select 7 because, after all, that first stay aboard is reserved for Tim. You know Tim. Yes, indeed. Tim Vukman, by the way, that's the proper pronunciation, as I finally been made aware, will be the very first guest aboard MV Poem, and that is largely to do with all of you. Yes, during the extraordinary experience that was the Beer of the Week, that he became a bit of a world hero in, many of you proposed, suggested, insisted that Tim be the first person to ever stay aboard MV Poem, and well, I've made that happen. Now, the only problem is I can't really quite afford it. And that's where Owen gave me the brilliant idea to involve you, yes, the Travels with Geordie community at large. So let's work together to get Tim aboard MV Poem. So as a result, I've started a small GoFundMe set for $1,500, of which I have just made the very first pledge of $100. Now, $1,500 will be enough to get him a return flight from central Canada. Thank goodness he doesn't live in Australia, as well as food and drink for the weekend. And Tim is on board and very, very excited and could not have done it any other way. So If you're at all interested in becoming part of getting Tim aboard MV Poem, please consider having a look down in the description where all the details are for this little fundraiser that I think is an awful lot of fun and a natural part of the Travels with Geordie community. Okay then, so let's talk about what Jordie's gonna need. If this boat is ever going to be truly exceptional, I have to completely rebuild the cabin sides. There is just too much damage to her original Honduran cabin sides for me to be able to continue to chase repairs over the years. I can tell you so much of this is soft and punky. None of this is original. It's like this because the ends of this are all rotten and soft in here. Right here I can push my finger through. We have several splines of different improper woods that have been added over the years. I've done my best to try and make this hold itself together, but again, if this boat is ever going to be great, I have to tackle this. This is a patch of fiberglass that I artificially grained and it's kind of wearing off. The windshield was repaired maybe a decade or two ago in Douglas fir and it's completely punky. Now, there's two problems. The first is that this is a traditional Edwin Monk designed Pacific Northwest motor cruiser built in Honduran mahogany. And I'm going to be taking much of it off. Mind you, I'm going to save every square inch of it and do something super interesting with it. And that does kind of bother me. I would like to think that I could have continued to patch and work its way back into something that really looked fantastic, but it's just not possible. It's too far gone. The other is that it's just a heck of a lot of work. There's 4 major panels that are going to have to be replaced, which is the aft cabin sides, both sides, the house sides, both sides, which will include the extension that actually finally fills in here on the upper helm that we talked about so much last summer. And then the final element is a new windscreen. And how hard can that be? I did build a new windscreen last year. It's a bit complex. Now, it may not actually be as hard as it appears at first. The way all these cabin sides are held in place is really quite simple. Up at the top, they're screwed in, well, unfortunately, all these fasteners were mild steel, to a little ledger with a rabbet in it. And at the bottom, you can see these bunged fasteners. These are screwed in to a block that you can see has been fiberglassed over here that has a rabbet in it. If you remember the way the aft bulkhead went in on MV Zephyrus, exactly the same. So there's no removing of cabin tops or anything that drastic. Basically, I take off one panel at a time, I lay it on the bench, use it as a template to build a replacement for that with oh so well built windows that will be sealed properly and proper spline joints that will stay tight forever. And yes, in sapele mahogany, which I am so very fond of. I think it's an effort worth doing. And of course, because I have the great privilege of the use of Lady Zephyrus's shed, I will be able to do it indoors. And I will not have many more opportunities like that for the rest of my life. So take advantage of it while you can. Obviously, there'll be other work done at that same time. All the cabin tops will be redone, I suspect in glass and not canvas, but more on that later, as well as any other major work that seems to make sense to do while it's in the shed. Happily, MV Geordie is as good as she'll ever need to be below the gunnels, and with this cabin top work done and some deck work done, she's going to be pretty nice. Well, hello and welcome to the Travels with Geordie non-alcoholic beer of the week. Coming to you this week from MV Geordie in beautiful sunny downtown Victoria. And when I say non-alcoholic beer of the week, it's because I am still not up for drinking any alcohol of any sort. So I'm going to enjoy Phillips Iota Pale Ale. And I gotta be honest with you, I've had a few of these and they have a few different, they even have a hazy, which is hard to find. And they're not bad. Not bad at all. In fact, certainly my favorite of the non-alcoholized beers. Well, I would like to say what a great and productive week this has been, but no, I have spent the entire week in bed with this darn COVID. But you know what? I'm out of the woods pretty much now, week tired, but grateful to be done with it. And in the big picture, it really wasn't that bad. All right. Isn't it a lovely color? Cheers to you all. Honestly, there's nothing bad. That's really not bad. Not bad at all. I may be drinking a few of these. Not tonight. Okay, let's get straight on to the paperwork because I'd like to get back to bed. Last week's winner of a Travels with Geordie t-shirt is Will Mason. Will Mason, get a hold of me and we'll make sure you get your Travels with Geordie t-shirt. Congratulations, Will. I am very, very grateful to have had a few new patrons come aboard because that offsets the many that are leaving. Braith Miller, cheers, thank you very much. Ken Jenkinson, again, thank you as well, Ken. And Phil Cox, thank you as well. I'm so grateful and I'm glad you've come aboard. Cheers. Really not bad. Also off the Amazon wish list, this beautiful little high power, in fact, 200 amp relay. Now this is sort of akin to a starter relay on like a Ford starter relay type of thing, except it's rated for continuous duty. And this in fact will not be used on either of the boats. This is for my Land Rover because it's time I paid some attention to the wiring on the Rover. Basically, I kind of wired it all up relatively quickly using a fair amount of wire nuts, morettes, now 13 or 14 years ago, and have been driving the truck ever since. So as I'm planning a few road trips with the truck in the not too distant future, I want to fix up the wiring some, and this is where it all starts. So basically, this main relay will be energized when you turn on the ignition so that all the subsequent circuits are run through a relay rather than through the ignition switch, which would be kind of hard on it. So that's what this is for. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, whoever it was out there who gave it to me, because, excuse me, I received no indication with the gift. So if you'd like me to thank you properly, and I hope you do, please let me know who you are, and I'd be very, very happy to thank you properly. Cheers, whoever you are. Oh, yeah. Okay, all you need now, and then I can go back to bed, is a word of the week. And that word of the week will be recovered. Yes, because I have recovered. Or recover. Or recovering. Or recovery. Any. I'm sure you know what you can do with that. Cheers.